Hi, this is Jaden with Adventure Pilot with part 3 of our student pilot series. Today I'll walk you through basic flight planning, and to start, we're going to actually want to set up our aircraft profile. This will make sure that iFly bases our performance information on the correct aircraft characteristics. So you'll click Menu, Setup, and it'll say Create New Aircraft Profile because I already have one in there. It just says Aircraft. So you'll click that and then it will pop up to enter the aircraft tail number. So for me, I'll just put a random one, then click done. And then it'll have you search for the aircraft type. So here I'll just type in 172 for the Cessna 172, which I will select. And then it's just going to automatically fill in some of that performance characteristics. However, you'll want to go through these and set these based on your aircraft flight manual. And you'll want to ask your CFI for clarification on a lot of these values to make sure you're inputting everything in correctly for your flight. So just for my purposes today, I'm going to go ahead and leave this with the default information that's filled in here. So for now, we'll just click Save. So now we can actually put in the flight plan. For this route, I'll be flying from McKinney National to Durant Regional. And we're just going to do a quick short flight plan to show you how that would work. So the easiest way here would click Flight Plan, enter Flight Plan, and then we have KTKI to KDUA for Durant, and then we'll click Done. And so now if we click close, you'll see that the flight plan is going to populate on the map here. It'll show that magenta line. And if we go back into flight plan, we can actually set the altitude and departure time. And this is important, that way iFly is calculating for the correct wind information. So there's a few ways to show this. One of the easiest is if you just click this bottom button here that says departure, it'll pop up our flight plan profile view. And first you'll want to go ahead and set this departure slider on the bottom. And you'll notice at the top here, there's a few different boxes being displayed, and all that is it's just the different weather information. I'm going to pop a chart on the screen that describes that if you want to pause. This chart just kind of goes over the basic weather information that you're seeing there. But let's just say I'm going to depart at 9 p.m. today, and now we're going to be on an east direction for our flight. So we'll make sure to set it to odd thousands plus 500. So 3,500 is perfectly fine for this flight. If you wanted to check 5,500, we could just drag it up here. And you'll notice the fuel and estimated time en route are listed to the right as well. And at 5,500, I'm using more fuel and it's going to take me longer. So we'll just go ahead and set this back down to 3,500. So now that I've picked my altitude and my departure time, we can click close. And now the fuel information and the time information that you're seeing to the right of the waypoints is correct. And you obviously have the distance there and the degrees true. If you wanted to change that setting to be magnetic, you can click close, then go to menu, setup, units of measure, compass, magnetic north. And you could also change the speed and distance information, the fuel, and pressure, altitude, and airspeed support are for if you have an external device that can send those over to iFly. That's likely not something you'll need to worry about. So if we go back into the flight plan, you see it says 10 degrees magnetic. Now that we've put in our basic flight plan, we can look at some waypoint selection on the map. To start, you'll notice this blue dot along our magenta line here, and what that actually is it's our top of climb. If you zoom in on it, you can see that it's basing it off of our cruise altitude, which is 3,500, and our top of climb is also based on 500 feet per minute. And then it's also using the current winds and your climb speed in your aircraft profile. So to go ahead and add that top of climb into your flight plan as a waypoint, you would tap on it, click flight planning, add waypoint to plan, and then you would select the lat long point. So if you go into your flight plan, I think it added it to the end here. So to move it up, you can click the gear icon next to its name and click move up. And so now you can see that it's updated the nav log information. So we see it's 7.6 miles away. It'll take us 6 minutes to reach there, and it'll take us 1.6 gallons of fuel. Next, we can select our next waypoint. Usually, I like to use this as obviously the ground speed check, which would be about 5 miles or so in a perfect world from our top of climb. So here, just for example, I'm going to select actually use this highway intersection next to Van Alstyne, since I actually know where that is and I've done this route before. I kind of know what it looks like from the air. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this highway intersection next to Van Alstyne. So we're going to zoom in just so it's easy here, and then we'll go parallel to Van Alstyne. Hold down on a route till that circle is green, then unselect, and then you'll select the lat long point. And now that is added into our plan. Usually I like to pick a waypoint within the next 20 miles after my first waypoint. So how do we know that distance on the map just looking here? So you can hold down two fingers on the map and it's going to pull out this measuring tool. The red dot is going to be the point you're measuring from. So I'm going to set that onto my second waypoint. And then we can drag this to where we would like to put our other waypoint. Let's just say today, I think I'll go ahead and select this lake here. And we also have that highway intersection that we'll be going over to. So we can use that as a point of reference as well. And it's going to be just based off that extra lake out of the lake. And we can see that's about 15 miles, which is within that distance we want. So we can go ahead and tap the screen to get rid of the measuring tape. And then we'll hold down on the same spot, click lat long, and now we have our next waypoint. And then you can also see this green dot on the plan, which is going to be our top of descent. iFly actually will give you a little warning whenever you're next to your top of descent, and also when you reach your top of climb in flight. So it'll notify you when you need to descend. And that descent point is going to be based on your pattern arrival distance. So if you click Menu, Setup, Alerts and Warnings, Vertical Speed to Target Settings, pattern distance is currently set to 2 miles. So iFly is going to plan to get you at your pattern altitude within 2 miles of the pattern. And that distance is based on a few factors that would be a little much to get into today, but that is what iFly is planning for. So now if we go into our flight plan here, you can see we have all our waypoints put in, all the fuel and times, and then you can translate this over to your paper nav log as well. That's all I have for you guys for part 3 today. Part 4, we're going to expand upon the airport information, weather briefings, and filing. We'll also look into some supplemental features as well. Thanks. See you then.